20th of June 2023. This is another one of the what the fuck moments, and this one is a serious one. This is something that is a real threat to the whole population. And I'm talking about the SASSA Generation's Food Terrorist Brigade. You need to listen to the Skidmark I did on Bread for Purpose to get a better idea of what I'm talking about. A really big problem for normal people is that the SASSA generation is poorly educated and incapable of really understand complex issues. Their main source of information is tweets and then the all-time favorite, memes. So you cannot debate with them. Yes, now I will be called a racist again, but I don't care. You see, the concept of racism is just one of the bullets in the cabal globalists' armory. But this past weekend in Poland, you saw how the race card was rejected and actually caused a lot of harm to the cabal. And we are making jokes about that race card, but it is a powerful weapon under the uneducated. Now the WEF is a cabal tentacle. They are clearly advocating the destruction of food production. They want to feed everybody synthetic shit that is produced in labs and where you have no clue of what is in that rubbish that they will call food. Attacks on farms are in full swing in the Netherlands, Germany, Canada, the USA, South Africa and New Zealand. Senseless shit about cow burps and sheep farts and all sorts of crap like that. When the cabal decided that Rhodesia must become Zimbabwe, the end game was to destroy the farms. For this, they needed to get rid of the farmers. You know the story. Take a look at this clip. This is a Zim farmer that fled to Zambia.
Is now plying his trade in the Chisamba district of Zambia. Here too, he has made a mark, becoming the first exporter of blueberries from Zambia to China. He lost his 1,000-hectare farm in Zimbabwe to an army general and is planning to buy a 15,000-hectare farm in Zambia, but is not proud about his success in his new country.
Obviously, it doesn't make me feel good because I know the potential of Zimbabwe. If it was a net exporter, it can return to be a net exporter. All it needs is the correct policies and you'll be a net exporter. It's as simple as that. Let the private sector run agriculture.
Driven out by the cabal tools in Zimbabwe, the so-called war veterans, we all know that the bulk of those veterans were fake. Here in South Africa, the cabal got clever. They needed a purebred army, so they made sure the SASSA breeding plan was well funded and well promoted with no restrictions. It worked so well that girls of 12 are breeding. Yes, and you will be the bliksem because I call it breeding. That is what it is. When a man and a woman loves one another and get married, they make a baby. These SASSA mothers, they breed for the bucks. These SASSA food terrorists, by large, don't even know who their fathers were, but they make claims based on their ancestral land. They don't even know their ancestors. A group of them were allocated to be the SASSA Food Terrorists, and Malema is in charge of them. They are driven by the slogans of "We want the land," and is terrorizing our farmers. Malema is financed by the UK sector of the cabal. And go and look where he lives and where his children go to school and what he eats and all of that. He's far removed from you, his loyal fighters, as he likes to call you. Black first, land first, latched onto this brigade. Listen to what this commentator says.
In 2000, the government of then Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe seized land from white farmers, saying it was reversing colonial imbalances, which left black farmers with only infertile land. That led to Ray's move to Zambia. Officials in Zimbabwe did not respond to a request for an interview.
The great winners in the mad competition is the Zambian people and Zambia as a country. Why? Basically, because they said, fuck this racism plan. Listen to this.
Zambia National Farmers Union spokesman Kakoma Calvin Kalei says about 300 displaced Zimbabwean farmers applied to settle here in the early 2000s. He sums up their work in Zambia.
Let's look at what they have managed to contribute in terms of production. Wheat production, jumping from 60,000 metric tons per year in 2009 to somewhere averaging between 300 to 420,000 metric tons per year. If you look at the contribution of the Zim farmers, massive, massive contribution.
Zimbabwe followed the instructions of the cabal, drove the white farmers out, and today the nation is dependent on food aid with many people starving. The food forces the population to be compliant and stay compliant, otherwise they don't get food. Listen to this commentator.
Kalei added that Zambia now exports onions, tomatoes, potatoes, and maize. Ironically, Zimbabwe, once the breadbasket of the region, imported maize from Zambia last year.
Our problem here in South Africa is that the SASSA Food Terrorists cannot comprehend what this man is saying because their minds have been saturated by racism and hatred. Listen to this.
Kelvin Ambwezia, chairman of Zambia's Food Reserve Agency, says his country wants to earn more foreign currency from the agriculture sector in which the former Zimbabwean farmers are involved.
I know of farmers that are doing high value crops for export. The impact is enormous. You can't dwarf the impact that they've made or the contribution they've made to our agricultural sector. So we have benefited a lot, and we hope that they don't go back.
But Zambia said no, and they are the winners. Our SASSA Food Terrorists cannot comprehend this because they think that food comes from checkers. The ANC does nothing to rein these terrorists in. Why? Because the ANC elite is indebted to the cabal and must deliver South Africa. The SASSA Food Terrorists are a cheap army at the disposal of the cabal, and many of them will kill for a t-shirt. So, you may think you are very powerful when you tweet your racism and hatred on Twitter, on your stolen phone from your little room. In your mind, you are a freedom fighter, but in reality, you are a terrorist. You are a threat to food security of the whole population. You are being protected by the cabal puppets, police and politicians. You are being controlled by the media. Your elders are powerless against you because the law protects you from their discipline. You have no connection to your culture. But the signs are there. Communities are getting angry. They see your reign of terror and feel it. And everywhere we are seeing communities taking the law into their own hands. and you know what the outcome is of these clashes with angry community members. You commit horrific crimes on the farms, and the brutality reflects on your mental state. You are not human. You are a barbarian. So think about it. If your cabal protectors loses power, you will be at the mercy of the people. Do you think you will receive mercy? I feel sad about your future. You don't have a future. You have been bred to do what you are doing. Being a SASSA Food Terrorist is your destiny, and that road is a dead end. You swear at me and my type on Twitter, call us all kinds of names, exposing your lack of respect to the world and think you are strong. You use bits of information that are totally without basis or foundation, but you believe it, so it must be true. You don't see how better educated people simply shake their heads and scroll by. Unfortunately, you have no other option. The cabal made sure that you have no access to decent education and no prospect of ever getting meaningful employment. So in effect, you have been bred to fulfill your mission and then end up face down in the dirt. Your masters don't care about your expiry. Where you came from, there's many more. You are labeled a useless eater by them. Sadly, your limited education prevents you from realizing what you are. Maybe if you get up now and go and talk to an old man that knows you, that is important. Must be an old man that knows you. Ask him what is wrong with you, and then listen. Listen carefully and make the decision, and do like the Zambians did and say, fuck this racism.
And Zambia is benefiting from the relationship. Columbus Mavungam for VOA News, Chisamba, Zambia.
You may benefit like the Zambians benefited from saying that, but the choice is yours. Please give me a like and a subscribe and share this thing. It is extremely important that these things are being shared. There is a lot of people that need to hear it. And who knows, one of these terrorists hears this and starts thinking and change. Who knows? Have a great evening.